Hello, folks. I am back. And last night I was on the People's Chat with Big Johnson Guns and Gear. And if you want to know more about the People's Chat, go to his YouTube channel, subscribe, and every Wednesday night they will talk about everything pertaining to firearms. So let me just get to the point here. Big Johnson posed a question to me, and it was regarding the Walther PDP. And his question was, did the PDP did anything really spectacular than any other firearm that's on the market, and should that be a good purchase? The My answer was quick and it was pretty much short, and my answer was nope. It doesn't do anything that fantastic than any other striker fire or popular striker fire that's on the market today. As you see here, this is my PDP. Still waiting on magazines. If you know the backstory, I got this from a guy that refused this one. He had a what you would call a Jersey model, which would be 10 round capacity. So I'm still waiting on magazines for this. So magazines from what Walther sent me in the email will probably be available but anywhere between September and December. So the PDP has gotten a lot of press, and it has took the firearms community by storm, and everybody was really interested in this. There are some controversial points about it. One of the things that is different from the previous model. This is a previous model here. This is my 45 version. They did what they called an upgrade. They upgraded the PPQ to turn into the PDP, and they're going to be phasing out the PPQ. So, as Big Johnson would say, they kind of put lipstick on a pig. So what they did was did some very big upgrades, and some of the upgrades are warranted. So the one thing that I will say that I noticed about this firearm immediately, and I think this is the only, like I said, the only selling point of this firearm is the grips. The grip is the only selling point on this firearm. It's not the slide with the big serrations or anything like that. And if you look in the back here that I'm bringing up here, this is my CZ P10F. This firearm already had some deep serrations on it. Don't mind this. I just got this back from Cajun Gunworks. But let's talk about this as it being a plain slide. This already had decent serrations where you can do a grip for press checks and everything else on this firearm. So that was already out there. The difference is with the PDP is that they made their serrations extremely deeper. And the other thing is, it is very squared on the slide. So there have been some complaints about how squared the slide is. They would have preferred something like a PPQ that had existing market where you can use your existing slide or something close to it, where it will be compatible with the holsters that are out there with the PPQ. I like I said, I really don't think it's nothing too magical on it, but I did do 1,000 round review on this, and it the firearm is flawless, and the PPQs are known for their triggers. You cannot take away anything from that from their triggers. But the firearm that I carry the most as a backup to my Glock 45. And by the way, all these firearms are unloaded. As I said, this is my carry firearm. That's why the magazine is not in there, because it's filled with the ammo that I carry. If you notice with the PPQ line, they are very similar to the VP9, and it goes back through history that they had a relationship in the past. But just using both of these firearms, I would say the trigger on this is a little bit different. It gives you a flatter feel, gives you a little bit more of a positive wall versus the PPQ, where it has a great trigger with a great short reset. Now, this trigger on the PPQ is very short. and the PDP, which has a great trigger, is a little bit more, I would say, stout. A little bit, not by much. Not we're talking very minute, but the PDP is, to me, it it has been overhyped. What they should have called this firearm to begin with is the PPQ 2.0. That's all they should have done. And I understand how marketing works, where you have a new car, you have a new product, or anything like that. I do understand that. And I know they wanted to market this as a duty weapon, but I don't see it yet because of its track record. Nobody had, or any departments that I know of, have uh, picked up on this as a duty weapon. I would go with the VP9 before I would go with this as a duty weapon. Um, and that's the way I feel about it. There's a YouTuber. His name is, I believe, is Hunt Fish and Shoot. He likes this as a duty weapon. He's currently still in law enforcement, but he likes the PDP as a duty weapon. But I don't see it as of yet. Um, and like I said, this is has some quirks about it. One of the big quirk is one of the most controversial things about this is the plate system for the optic. Now that is another sticking point with a lot of people. Whether or not these screws and the way it is melded in to hold an optic, people do not have confidence with the system, the plate system that they have. They don't think it's secure enough. I'm not one to go smashing the optic on there like uh, I forget his name. I forget his name right now, but he does a lot of testing where he smashes optics and so forth. Uh, and I believe that I don't know how to feel about this optic plate myself. The optic plate, my first one from Walther, broke when I screwed it in after, let's say, maybe 200 rounds. That had cracked and broke in half. I ended up getting another plate from another company, and it seems to be working fine. It seems everything's to be in place. But those are one of the factors that you will come into play with the when you're making your decision with the PPQ, or excuse me, well, the PDP in this case. It is a good firearm for what it is. It still has been untested in the real world. But if I were you, I would, if this is going to be your first striker fired firearm, sure, you can go with that, but you can have other options. You can go with your CZ P10F or P10C. They've been on the market. It's proven. It's been out there for a while. You haven't heard any drama with these, except for maybe the magazine release. When it was a dual magazine release on both sides, they changed that and upgraded that. With the HKVP9, the HKVP9, you either love it or hate it because of the magazine paddle release. They do make a version where there is the regular American button release. One of the other things they had with it was the spring that was used in here was for 40 caliber for your recoil spring. But these are firearms that have been tested and have been out in the field. There are too many unknowns for the PDP at this point. What I would recommend is you might consider some other choices at this time. But like I said, it is a good firearm. It has no malfunctions to date or anything like that after 1,000 rounds. But I'm just being totally honest when I say this. It's kind of had that placebo effect, like this is the latest and greatest thing, with all the hype that surrounded this. Good firearm, but right now the jury is going to be still out as this being a good firearm to be in the field. And my only other advice I could tell people is don't be so quick to rush to the latest and greatest thing, because there are some things that are out there on the market and they do all the flash and do everything else. But when it comes to firearms, don't be so quick to do that. Yes, I jumped to this because I wanted something that was an upgraded PPQ, and we had the PDP, but I'm not at a loss because I have other firearms. We will see if this stays in my collection or not. Other than that, happy shooting, stay safe, hashtag 2A.